with a few words. 4 to be exact. This has gone too far. 5. This has gone too far. Those are the words Frederick Brannon, the CEO and founder of underground but well-known social media site, said after a very tragic incident occurred in New Zealand where a gunman walked into a mosque and gunned down innocent worshippers. And these events were live streamed on the social media site. This has gone too far, is what a British community said after a 14-year-old girl committed suicide because she'd been bullied on social media day in and day out until she couldn't take it anymore. This has gone too far, is what we say when an accident occurs, when a disaster occurs, and the first thing you see is people not running to go help, but pull out their phones to make sure they're the first ones to get it up online. Social media. A fact. Social media is a driving force. It's a phenomenon not a lot of people expect it to grow to the extent that it has now. Pretty sure if I were to ask you who's on social media in one way or another, everyone would put their hands up. You have to ask the question, what is it about this driving force? What is it about this vehicle? Because they've referred to it as a vehicle of change, understandably so. What is it about this thing that has corporations spending billions of dollars to get our data? What is it about it that has found us day in and day out finding new ways to get us to connect? It's a simple thing, community. If you listen to what a lot of these social media founders talk about when they tell us about the updates, it's always to get us more connected, to create a global community. It's that word right there, community. These companies have understood the power that is in community, what happens when people from different parts of the world, or even within localities, come together and agree. Community inspired by social media has outed criminals. It's brought problematic corporations to their knees. It's helped people find long-lost relatives. It's helped missing persons become found. Community has raised funds for life-saving operations. It's gotten people scholarships, jobs. Heck, it's created movements that have toppled governments. Community's even gotten people on the Ellen Show. And you see, the thing is, this community, this phenomenon has the potential to be good. It can be great. It can actually be the vehicle for the effectual change that we want to see happen in the future. It can create that future that we want to see. But unfortunately, there is another side to it. A darker side that we don't like to talk about as much. A darker side that grows every day. Because you see, the thing about change is not all change is good change, no matter what they tell you. Online harassment, according to studies, has become commonplace. A popular media publication conducted a study with about 3,000 Americans, and 47% of them reported that they'd been victims of online harassment or abuse. 66% of this took place on a social media platform or an application. Cyberstalking has become an epidemic. How much of an epidemic? 2.5 million cases from 2014 to 2017, and it has grown at an alarming rate since then. What's even more disturbing is that 72% of social media users have witnessed an event of cyberstalking or online harassment. Not experienced, witnessed. That means that there are people, most of us probably, who have logged on, seen other people, dragging people, posting problematic content, and in most cases, we have just scrolled by and minded our own business. There's another phenomenon that plays into this, and it's called performance crime. Simply defined, it's the act of committing a form of crime and recording it on social media to receive applause, acceptance, validation, etc. I'm pretty sure all of us are familiar with those pranks that we see online. You know, there's a poor, unsuspecting person there who's eating their lunch and then someone comes and suddenly flips their drink. Or it gets to the point where there's someone who dresses up like a scary clown and they hide in an underground parking. Some people are coming from shopping and they see the clown and they get scared. And we laugh. We like, we share, we send it to our friends. We're like, oh my gosh, you have to check this out. It's fun on social media. Not fun when it's you. I'd hate to think of what would happen if I was nicely just walking and this random clown popped out of nowhere. These crimes, and unfortunately they are crimes, whether we like to laugh at them or not, vary from minor ones, such as pranks, to more serious ones. Sexual violence, murder, harassment of people with disabilities. You even find people who will take time to record themselves sitting next to beggars, eating a cheeseburger and laughing at them. And the thing is, these things are so easy to find. All you have to do is type in something in any search engine, any social media platform, and it's there. And you ask the question, you have to ask the question, why would someone murder someone, record it and put it online? Why would a gunman go into a mosque, not only murder people, but live stream it for people to see? See, it's easy to ask these questions. We avoid the big one. Who are they doing it for? Because these aren't just lone people who decide, hey, I'm going to post this today. No, they have an objective: to be seen, to be watched, to be interacted with. Community. They know that there are people who are going to watch it, who are going to engage with it. And again, it's very easy for us to, take a step and be like, what kind of people would watch all this content? Very easy to ask that question. Until I ask you, the person you are in real life and the person online, are you the same people? Because it's very easy to be that social justice warrior in real life. Human rights, everyone needs to be treated equally, everyone needs to be respected. But then when it comes to online, where nobody knows where you are because you've got a username 123 or whatever, you're that person out there insulting people, threatening them and their mothers and grandmothers. You see some very dark stuff on social media. Are you that person? It doesn't help though if you're a terrible person in real life and a terrible person on social media. There you kind of need to reflect on your life for a little bit. That's not okay. But the thing is, these people know that there are people who are going to engage with their content. The New Zealand attack, the New Zealand tragedy, ended up on my timeline. My Twitter timeline, and I don't even have that many followers. How is it possible that an attack that took place in New Zealand was uploaded to a random social media site that I hadn't even heard of until that day, but somehow made its way to my timeline? It's because people kept sharing it and sharing it and sharing it until people within my own circle started watching it and sharing it. Some people would quote it and be like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Some people would just share it. I'd like to think it's not because they actually enjoyed what they saw. But that's the thing. We seem to think that when we interact with problematic content, even if it's a, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is so bad, we think we're doing a good thing, but unfortunately we're not. We're feeding into the trolls. When an accident happened and someone posts, the dead bodies, it's a growing problem. If you don't stop to take a look at it and wonder, why am I watching this? It's time for reevaluation. Because in this race of the technological age where we're demanding more advancement, more connectivity, more autonomy over our own data, we have to question what we're leaving behind in its wake. What are we trading off? What are we losing subconsciously? Empathy, accountability, and humanity. I'd like to think that if there was an accident that happened out there, you wouldn't be the first person going there just looking at the bodies like, whoa, that is terrible, that is so bad, oh my gosh, rest in peace, hashtag this is terrible. No. But because we've created this distance between social media and real life, we seem to think that it's different online, but unfortunately it's not. But we've allowed that gap to desensitize ourselves, where someone's most crucial moment, a moment where we forget the dignity of your human life, we forget it. For retweets, for likes, for shares, it's never worth it. So what would the solution to this be? I'm not about to be able to tell you, we can change the world. No, let me give you something more realistic. We can change our communities, we can change our circles. Simply by checking ourselves, by checking each other, and checking what people within our circles post online. I'm not asking you to go on guns blazing and now start yelling at people online. No, unproductive. Remember, it doesn't work. No. But a simple reporting a problematic status, reaching out to someone who you can see is a victim of online harassment, goes a long way. My mind is often plagued by this event that took place in Paris. A young girl logged onto Facebook, and it started off as a normal stream. She was out here, she went to collect mail, spoke to people, and then she now started detailing the horrors she'd gone through in a previous relationship. And she started speaking about the fact that she was suicidal. You'd think that in this event, there are people who would be like, you need to get help, people are reaching out, but unfortunately the majority of the comments were people insulting her, calling her different sexual slurs, and even some people were encouraging her to end her life. And unfortunately, she did end her life on that stream. This has gone too far. We can't afford to be that generation that just tweets or posts, rest in peace, hashtag this is terrible, this has gone too far. We can't afford to let ourselves become that. With this effectual machine that we have before us called social media, we can't afford to be complacent, because our complacency is only going to produce an even bigger beast 10 years from now that we're going to look at and go, whoa. But if we all take an active step to remember our humanity, to put ourselves in other people's shoes and realize that it's not just social media, it'll go a much longer way. Imagine for every instance of online harassment, there are several people who come and report the offender and send a message to that victim and say, hey, are you okay? That's a lot less people who are going to be contemplating suicide because they don't know how to escape. It may sound idealistic, but remember what I said, community, long lost relatives, missing persons. Corporations are afraid. They don't just come out, brands don't just come out and put up anything anymore. They take time because they know that there's a whole community waiting, just waiting to comment. And it could either make or break their business. You've seen it, I've seen it. We can take that same effect and craft it towards a future that we actually want to see. All with the click of a button, all with a reflective check. So as we carry on with our days and we continue to interact online, I'd just like us to all be a little bit more reflective, a little bit more empathetic, a little bit more in touch with our humanity. Because that way we will save lives and build a future that we're actually proud of. And we won't become that generation that looks back, that looks at the beast 10 years from now and goes, this has gone too far. Thank you.